Right now, something important is passing through the waters between Taiwan and the Philippines, and it is important to comprehend precisely what it is, what it can do, and why its movement is important at this specific time. Because a ship passing through a channel sounds like normal naval activity from the outside. Every day, ships pass through channels. However, the image that develops when you comprehend what this specific ship is carrying, who is on board, where it came from, where it seems to be heading, and what the strategic backdrop surrounding its deployment actually looks like is anything but ordinary. On March 11, 2026, the USS Tripoli, LHA-7, an America-class big helicopter attack ship, left Okinawa. Since then, it has been observed traversing the Bashi Channel, a vital waterway that divides the southern tip of Taiwan from the northern Philippines. It is not traveling by itself. It is the focal point of an amphibious readiness group that also consists of the USS Rafael Peralta, DDG-115, and the USS Robert Smalls, CG-62. At least 20 F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters, 20 MV-22 Osprey aircraft, and a Marine Expeditionary Unit, which has reportedly been increased to 5,000 personnel, are carried by these ships collectively. Take a moment to consider those figures. 3 ships carrying 5,000 Marines, 20 F-35B stealth fighters, and 20 Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft are passing through one of the world's most strategically important waterways. That is a powerful force. Understanding each of these elements in great depth is necessary to comprehend why it is significant and why it reflects something truly important rather than just another naval deployment. This is because the individual pieces reveal information that their sum does not. Each member of this group was carefully selected. Each capacity shown here represents a particular operational issue that American military strategists have spent years attempting to resolve, a particular lesson learned or a particular threat anticipated. Additionally, as you comprehend the functions of each component, you start to grasp the true purpose of the entire package. So let's begin from the beginning. First, let's talk about the ship, because in order to comprehend the USS Tripoli, you must first comprehend the history that gave rise to it and the geopolitical controversy that its very presence implies. Amphibious assault doctrine for most of the 20th century was based on an idea that had direct roots in World War II. The basic picture is recognizable. A landing craft ramp with a level bottom that descends into a beach. Marines and soldiers rushing ahead toward whatever is waiting for them on land. Amphibious actions in Guadalcanal Campaign, Battle of Tarawa, and Battle of Incheon were marked by variations on that image. Landing craft, amphibious vehicles, and eventually tanks could be launched straight into the surf through openings at the waterline, which the Navy refers to as well decks. These openings were necessary because the ships that supported those operations were built with the goal of getting people and equipment directly from the water onto the land as efficiently and quickly as possible. That idea was successful. It was really expensive, but it was effective. Additionally, the well deck continued to be an essential component of American amphibious ships for many years. Around the well deck, you constructed the ship. Everything else was incidental. The threat situation then shifted. The number of coastal defense systems increased. The number, accuracy, and distribution of anti-ship missiles increased. In the 1990s and 2000s, countries and non-state entities that would never have posed a threat to a U.S. Navy ship in the 1950s or 1960s obtained weaponry that could seriously endanger a ship. The calculation of bringing a big amphibious ship close enough to a hostile shore to perform a traditional over-the-beach landing was drastically altered. Military planners had to consider whether the conventional amphibious assault concept was still feasible in the actual environment they were operating in, because the cost of doing so against a sophisticated opponent had increased significantly. In the end, the Marine Corps and Navy decided to switch from an over-the-beach strategy to a standoff strategy. Instead of bringing the ship to the shore, you bring the ship within range, but keep it at a distance. Additionally, you transport your armies via air. The link between the ship and the target is established by helicopters, tilt-rotor aircraft, and eventually stealth planes. The most hazardous waters are never reached by the ship. It can deliver its men and weaponry where they are needed while staying far enough offshore to make targeting more difficult. The America class was created with that operating philosophy in mind. For this reason, a well deck was not included in the construction of the USS Tripoli, a contentious decision that sparked intense internal discussion within the Navy and Marine Corps, but it represented a sincere strategic assessment of how amphibious power projection would need to function in the current threat landscape. The designers significantly increased the amount of internal capacity by removing the well deck. All of the volume was transferred to aviation: larger hangars, more extensive repair facilities, improved fuel storage, and better ammunition handling for aircraft. The ship's whole below-deck architecture was designed with the goal of efficiently and sustainably operating a large number of aircraft over lengthy periods of time. Fundamentally, the USS Tripoli is an aviation platform that also transports Marines. This leads us to the F-35B, because you can't completely appreciate why an American ship would have more than 20 F-35Bs if you don't know what this aircraft is and can do. The Joint Strike Fighter program's short takeoff and vertical landing variant, known as the F-35B, was created especially for the Marine Corps and for use from vessels without the catapult launch systems of traditional aircraft carriers. It can operate from the flight deck without requiring major launch infrastructure because it can take off from a short deck run and land vertically. However, the F-35B's capacity to take off and land on smaller ships is nearly its least intriguing feature. This aircraft belongs to the fifth generation of stealth aircraft. Radar systems that would identify and track a fourth-generation fighter at a considerable distance might not spot the F-35B until it is considerably closer. In certain situations, they might not detect it at all because its airframe was built from the start to limit radar cross-section. This feature gives a real operational advantage over opposing air defense systems that have been tailored to detect and fight conventional aircraft. The aircraft also carries advanced electronically scanned radar, allowing it to track multiple targets simultaneously while remaining difficult to detect itself. In addition, the F-35B's distributed aperture system and electro-optical targeting system provide pilots with a 360-degree picture of the battlespace. Sensors embedded around the aircraft feed information into the pilot's helmet display, allowing the pilot to effectively see through the aircraft structure. It carries air-to-air missiles for combat against hostile aircraft and precision-guided weapons capable of striking both naval and ground targets. Crucially, the aircraft is also designed to act as a sensor and data-sharing node in a broader networked battlespace. Every F-35B on the Tripoli is therefore more than a standalone fighter. It becomes part of a larger information system that shares data with ships, aircraft, and command systems, improving situational awareness for every connected platform. The U.S. Navy refers to a ship carrying 20 or more of these aircraft as a lightning carrier. This concept provides a significant amount of fifth-generation stealth air power from a platform that is far smaller and more flexible than a traditional aircraft carrier. A nuclear carrier, such as those in the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier or Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carrier, can carry larger air wings and generate higher sortie rates. No one disputes that. However, nuclear carriers are also massive, extremely valuable assets, whose presence sends a very clear political signal. Losing one would be catastrophic both militarily and politically, and adversaries have invested heavily in systems designed specifically to threaten them. The Lightning carrier concept offers a different balance. It provides meaningful air power while presenting a different risk profile. It is flexible, easier to deploy in certain situations, and does not carry the same strategic consequences if threatened. It is not intended to replace carrier strike groups. Instead, it adds another tool to the military toolkit, covering operational gaps that a traditional carrier strike group might not be suited to fill. Next, we should examine the rest of the Amphibious Ready Group. The history of the USS Robert Smalls is particularly interesting. The ship was originally commissioned as the USS Chancellorsville before being renamed in 2023 after Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls was an enslaved man who, in 1862, seized control of a Confederate transport vessel and sailed it to Union lines with his family and other enslaved people aboard. He later served as a captain in the Union Navy and eventually became a member of the United States Congress. The renaming was part of a broader effort to remove Confederate names from U.S. military installations and replace them with names representing American ideals more closely. The ship itself is a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser equipped with the Aegis combat system. When introduced, Aegis represented a generational leap in naval air defense capability. The system integrates powerful radar arrays with advanced computer processing and missile guidance systems. It was specifically designed to defend against saturation attacks, where an adversary attempts to overwhelm defenses by launching large numbers of missiles simultaneously. The cruiser carries the Mark 41 vertical launch system, capable of firing a wide range of weapons including standard air defense missiles, ballistic missile interceptors, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and anti-submarine rockets. The presence of the cruiser therefore adds long-range strike capability and area air defense to the amphibious group. Meanwhile, the destroyer USS Rafael Peralta adds additional anti-submarine warfare capabilities, surface warfare systems, and further air defense layers. Together, these three ships create a mutually reinforcing capability package: the Tripoli project's ground forces and air power. The cruiser provides long-range strike and air defense. The destroyer strengthens anti-submarine protection and adds additional missile capability. The size of the Marine force aboard the group is also significant. A traditional Marine expeditionary unit normally contains around 2,200 personnel. That size is designed for crisis response missions, humanitarian assistance, evacuations, and limited combat operations. A force of 5,000 Marines represents something far larger. It approaches the size of a Marine expeditionary brigade, capable of sustained combat operations and more complex missions. Supporting such a force requires significant logistical preparation, including fuel, ammunition, medical support, and maintenance infrastructure. The MV-22 Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft that carry these Marines also play a critical role. Unlike traditional helicopters, the Osprey can rotate its engines and rotors, allowing it to take off vertically like a helicopter and then transition to forward flight like a turboprop aircraft. This design gives the aircraft much greater speed and range than conventional helicopters. Marines deployed from the Tripoli can therefore reach targets hundreds of miles inland rather than just coastal areas. That capability significantly expands the operational reach of amphibious forces and complicates defensive planning for any adversary. Geography also matters. The Bashi Channel is one of the most strategically important waterways in the Indo-Pacific region. It connects the western Pacific Ocean with the South China Sea and serves as a critical transit route for naval forces operating in the region. For Chinese naval planners, it represents a choke point that foreign military forces must pass through in any Taiwan-related scenario. For American planners, it is a vital corridor connecting operational theaters. Ship movements through this channel are constantly monitored using satellite imagery, signals intelligence, and maritime surveillance systems. The transit of the Tripoli and its escort ships is therefore certainly being observed closely by Chinese military analysts. At the same time, such movements send signals. Naval deployments in contested regions always carry political and military messages about capability, readiness, and intent. The repositioning of this amphibious group also reflects strategic prioritization. Military forces are limited. When ships are deployed to one region, they cannot be present in another. Senior commanders therefore move assets like this only when they believe those capabilities may be needed. The current transit suggests a shift toward a theater where American planners anticipate increased demand for amphibious and aviation capabilities. Potential destinations could include the South China Sea, the Indian Ocean, or even the Middle East. Without official confirmation, the exact mission remains uncertain. However, the design philosophy behind this force is clear. It represents the American response to modern anti-access and area denial strategies developed by competitors such as China. Submarines, long-range missiles, integrated air defenses, cyber warfare systems, and space-based surveillance networks are all designed to make it harder for American forces to operate close to adversary territory. The Tripoli Group counters that challenge with a flexible combination of stealth aircraft, long-range strike weapons, mobile Marines, and layered defensive systems. Stealth aircraft complicate enemy air defenses. Ospreys extend the reach of amphibious forces deep inland. Aegis-equipped escorts protect the group from missile threats. Together, these capabilities allow the United States to project power into contested environments without relying solely on the largest and most vulnerable platforms. Ultimately, the USS Tripoli and its escorts represent the modern evolution of a concept that has been central to American strategy since World War II. Sea-based forces can move anywhere the ocean reaches. They do not require foreign bases or host nation permission. They can reposition quickly and maintain a degree of strategic ambiguity about where they might strike. Technology has changed dramatically since the era of landing craft and beach assaults, but the fundamental logic remains the same. Ships allow a nation to bring military power to distant shores rapidly and unpredictably. The Tripoli's transit through the Bashi Channel is therefore more than a routine naval movement. It is a demonstration of modern sea-based power projection. Where it goes next may reveal more about current strategic priorities than any official announcement, because ships rarely move without purpose. Unlike press conferences, naval deployments communicate through action. Wherever these ships ultimately arrive will reveal where their commanders believe they may soon be needed most.